Does Indiana step back or way back in 2025? Jacob Goins of Locked On Hoosiers is here. Brian Smith of the Portal Podcast, an Indiana alum, is also here, and it's fight night here at Locked On College Football. If you're watching or listening to the show at night, it's even more applicable. Goins is going to yell at me here. Well, he's not going to literally yell. He's not Gus Johnson, but
I might.
He might get an elevated voice. So it's record prediction season here at Locked On College Football, gentlemen, and I'm going through and hitting off all the heavy hitters and then some. Indiana falls into that category. Their preseason win total, according to our friends at FanDuel, is 8.5. I do like them over. I instinctually want to take them under because I think they are a pullback team from last year. I don't know if Mendoza is Curtis Rourke, but Cignetti's track record with quarterbacks pretty darn good. The schedule, however, I see 3 losses. I think 10-2 is more likely than 8-4. I've settled on 9-3. I think they lose. Goins, get ready. I think they lose their first Big Ten game of the year at home to Illinois. I'm sorry, Hoosier fans. I love the Illini too much. I think they lose at Oregon. I think they lose at Penn State. They are sizable double-digit underdogs in both of those contests. Jacob, I will turn it over to you. 9-3 for the Hoosiers. Do you see it?
I think 9-3 is an acceptable year 2, given the magical season of year 1, right? Double-digit wins, college football playoff, the greatest season in the history of Indiana football. Brian can speak to that even more than I can. I mean, there's just so much.
Sorry, Jacob, did you just call Brian old?
No, I call Brian seasoned is what we'll go with. It's the fact that he's watched Indiana football a little bit longer than I have, but he can speak to what I'm talking about. The fact that Indiana football before Curt Cignetti sucked. It was terrible. It was literally the most losing program in the history of college football. And then Curt Cignetti showed up, and you make it to the college football playoff. And so, sure, the step back is inevitable in some places. But the fact is, the roster may have gotten better than it was last year. From last year to this year, I think the offensive line is better. Funny enough, I think the running back room is just as good. And I think the peak of Fernando Mendoza is higher than what we got with Curtis Rourke. So if he stays healthy, you're talking about a guy that could be a dark horse sitting in New York. There's a percentage floating out there that he could be the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft.
Oh, okay.
That's what the Hoosiers have, and the defense is going to be just as good, which was ranked number 1 in the nation statistically last year. And so how is it all this crazy thing that Indiana can't win 10 games and can't get back to the college football playoff? They're not losing to Illinois at home in their Big Ten opener. It's not gonna happen. It won't.
Well, but before we work Brian into the fold, I will allow guests to run wild and speak for themselves here on this program as the executive producer. I will allow a certain level of tomfoolery. If you say Fernando Mendoza and number 1 pick in the NFL draft again, I'm going to get you kicked out of this network.
12%.
I assure you Blackerby likes me more than you.
I don't know. Never mind. I'm not going to go there. But I'm just saying, man, Indiana's roster might just be better than it was last year, and that's a team that made it to the college football playoff. Road games at Oregon and Penn State, I'm not crazy. I'm not going to say, yep, got them, W, undefeated. No, that's ridiculous. I do think Indiana has a better chance to beat Oregon on the road than they do Penn State on the road, but it's still going to be a double-digit underdog, a tough game to win, and I'm not crazy. But I'm the only one in this call, and I know Brian's on the other side here, that says that Indiana's going to lose to Illinois. It's not going to happen.
Okay, Brian, talk some sense into this, man.
All right, there's a few things working here against my alma mater. Number 1, nobody, as you rightfully said, Jacob, really circled Indiana on the schedule for a reason. They were awful. One of the first years I followed college football in the early 80s, you know what they went? 0-11. So they've been terrible for literally 0-11.
Ooh.
I think it was 84, but I was like, oh my God. Nobody like where I lived followed anything besides Indiana basketball. That's why it's been ever since. Until, as you said, Cignetti came. Now everybody's going to circle them. It's different being the hunted or being the hunted. I need to see Indiana in that situation. Number 2, Jacob, correct me, 13 guys came with Cignetti from his old job.
Yes.
Those may be transfers but not really. They're not going to have that same advantage this year, and that's very, very important. And then finally, I had a chance to see Mendoza play in high school. I had a chance to see him in that game, Cal at Auburn last year. He's a good player, and I think he could be a pretty darn good player this year. He's still not going to just dominate. I think it will be harder, and I agree with everybody here. Penn State and Oregon, if they lose to Indiana, it's going to be more on them than IU. I would take Illinois because they got more physicality than Indiana, although that should be one of the best games of the Big Ten this next season, win or lose for Indiana, Illinois. I would take Illinois because I think Luke Altmaier, I would take him over Mendoza, which if you'd have said that to me a year ago, I probably would not have. And
that game's in Bloomington. I do want people to, if you don't know, if that game is in Champaign, I feel a whole different way. I just want to put that out there. If the Hoosiers had to go, because that is the first real game of the season, which is concerning to me, absolutely, because, Indiana does play the hardest non-conference schedule in college football this year, right in front of Penn State, to where we're going to be 3-0 and the season's going to be boring until we play Illinois. I am absolutely worried about that factor, but I think pound for pound, man for man, talent for talent, Indiana's better than Illinois. I'm on record for saying that.
That's part of the reason that I'm behind Illinois winning that game unless Luke Altmaier gets injured in fall camp or something, because I think for the first 3 weeks it will be a breeze. And I think that one tune-up game in the non-conference can be a really valuable thing for a school. Yeah. But when you play 3 in a row and you're used to just cruise, and then Illinois, it's not like Minnesota is coming in there or UCLA with Nico, Minnesota's a physical football team, but or Purdue is coming in there or anything. No. This is Illinois. This is going to be a big boy smash mouth game. They are going to run 26 power, I hope 74 times in the game, and call 2 play action passes. And I don't know how ready Indiana is going to be for that particular moment. By the way, Brian, I got to give you your props here. The 0-11 season was indeed in 1984, in the first year of the Bill Mallory era. That is quite the pull. Yikes. In case you doubt that we are sickos for college football here at the network. But Goins, I wanted to start with you on this and then get Brian's thoughts as well. What's your best and worst case scenario for Indiana record-wise, presuming no major injuries?
I think 10-2 is the best case scenario. Saying anything better is starting to get a little crazy. I'll just be honest. But winning the games that you're supposed to, competing in the games that you're not supposed to, being Oregon and Penn State, and beating Illinois, beating Wisconsin, heck, even having to go on the road and beat Iowa. That's a game that I'm a little bit worried about, because not that Indiana's worse than Iowa, but you got to go on the road, and that's the first road trip of the year. And so, I think best case scenario, 10-2, have a say, make it to the college football playoff. Worst case scenario is you take a major step back. I'm talking losing those first 2 games to Illinois and Iowa, letting a Michigan State or a UCLA come to Bloomington and beat you. Heck, losing to Purdue at the end of the season's worst case scenario. That's on a Friday night. That's Black Friday, by the way, for the first time in the history of that rivalry. And
gosh, Barry Odom is going to be so happy.
And so, worst case scenario, I don't have a specific number, but I think anything under 8 wins would be massively disappointing. And even 8-4, it's going to be like, maybe it was just a one-hit wonder. I don't think that's the case, but I'm afraid that's what the narratives would be.
Brian, best worst case scenario?
I could see 7-5 if things went wrong injury-wise, but otherwise I think I'm pretty much there with Jacob. 8-4. The Iowa thing, by the way, that is a very difficult place to play. If that is your first quote unquote road contest, that's not
which
friendly.
It is.
Ain't no quote unquote about it. It is the first one. And for the record, that Illinois game, the Hoosiers will have an extra day of rest because the final non-con game against Indiana State's on a Friday night. So I hate it, but if that gives an extra advantage to the Hoosiers, then by all means, let me
Indiana and schedule manipulation. Wow, where have I heard that before? I think I heard some college football podcaster talking about that, like on Friday.
I don't want to talk about it.
Week. Brian wants to talk about it, though. I imagine that's what you wanted to talk about, Brian.
Yeah, the text I sent you this morning, I was pretty ticked off. Like, as an alum, dropping Virginia, who's, let's just be blunt, is not exactly a power in football.
I don't
And
know.
from what I was hearing, the team they're going to add is Austin P. I don't know if that's accurate, but anything of that variety is pathetic.
I have
Is
called
it
a
wrong
game
like
at
that?
Austin P before.
Okay, well, that's fine. You got
Clarksville's a
paid.
wonderful downtown area.
Okay, great. I'm sure the
Attaboy.
beer
Thank
would
you,
fit
Spencer.
that.
Thank you.
But the
It
bottom
was.
line is still the same. If you're going to ascend in college football, you got to beat some people. Let me give you a little clue. And here, Spencer, if you want to do some research for fun, go look at early 80s Florida State schedules. There was a year the Noles played like Ohio State, Notre Dame, Nebraska, and LSU like consecutively on the road. Yeah, that's how they climbed, and that's why recruits wanted to go there. Do you think Indiana's going to recruit better playing Austin P to either one of you? Really?
No.
Austin P, who cares? Now, I happen to know that's in Tennessee, and you just gave that. Most people wouldn't know what state that's in because it's Austin P.
Yeah.
Indiana is taking the soft route after they got laughed about because they didn't play well against Notre Dame. They made the playoff, but the schedule was weak last year. They're not helping themselves. I know the butts and seats, we need money to pay for Title IX sports is the reason, but they got to find a way around it. You can't do this consistently and move up. It's a terrible.
Well, even if that's the thinking, I feel like fans would rather see Virginia than another game against a team you're going to beat by 50 points. Like
And this is the second time the Hoosiers have done this. I just want
Yes.
that to go on the record.
Who's
Second
the
time
other
they've
one?
done that. Oh, goodness, I can't remember. It was another middle of the pack non-con team. But
And
then,
it-
we're adding, Austin P and another game against Kennesaw State and things like that.
The reason-
I'm with you on that. I hate this
and it's the
idea.
premise. It's the premise of it that bugs me. You know, I don't need you to schedule Clemson, Notre Dame, LSU, but have any Power 4 opponent any Power 4 opponent. You don't know what they're going to be. You know, the point I made on Friday is, hey, what if you'd scheduled a 2026-27 home and home with Indiana literally 2 years ago? It would have felt about the same as scheduling Virginia right now. Well, suddenly, that hypothetical home and home with Indiana looks and feels a heck of a lot different for whoever would have done that. Like, you don't know how things can change in a Power 4. Like, putting Wake Forest on the schedule right now. What if Jake Dicker comes in and just turns them around right away? Like, if it can happen at Indiana, I think it can happen just about anywhere. And I'm glad that we are in agreement that this is not a good thing for the sport. I'm going to close with a piece of trivia for you guys, just because I'm a nerd. Can either of you tell me the mascot for Austin P?
I'm not sure.
I don't know. I don't know.
The Governors. They have got a Mr. Peanut Monopoly looking mascot. He's got a spectacle. It's sensational. It's
Speaking of
sensational.
mascots, I know we got to go. Have you seen the Hoosiers' new mascot? Have you seen who's
Oh,
making
wait,
an
no, I
appearance
haven't.
in
The
game one?
Bison. Yeah,
The Bison is back, baby. Game one, the Bison. Hoosier, the Bison is back. Look it
Hoosier
up.
the Bison.
Yep, look
Yes.
it up.
You got to look it up.
Okay,
It's a pretty
okay.
neat looking mascot.
That's
It is.
first thing I'm doing once we hop off of here. Jacob Goins, Locked On Hoosiers, Brian Smith, the Portal Podcast in Indiana grad. That'll do it for today. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. And until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.